Alright, so Part J, specification containers and motor vehicles. For motor vehicle transportation, 178-313 specification MC200 with the container with the detonator with the percussion caps. 178-318 on one scope with the specification pertaining with the container with the transportation detonator percussion with the cap in conjunction with the transportation liquid nitroglycerin. Desensitized liquid nitroglycerin with the ethanol with the glycol denitrate with any of these such types of caps may be the detonator liquid nitroglycerin, the desensitized liquid nitroglycerin, diethanol glycol dinitrate blasting operation. The specification not intended to take place for the shipping of the package from the department where the caps of the question themselves, the article for the commerce are reserved. 178-318-2 the container with the detonator with the percussion cap is coming from the scope of the specification, which was constructed entirely of the hard rubber phenol for resin with a resinous material with the other non-metallic, non-sparking material except for the metal parts of the must be within such locations and any event with the come in contact with any of the cap spaces should be provided with each of the detonator whenever the nature of the being served with the individual cell body with the container into the which for the each of the shuts of the cap is singly fit with the shell provided with no more than 20% such as cellular spaces may be provided with plurality with the percussion caps may be carried to provide such as spaces may be closed with a screw cap further provided with each of the space entirely separated for the space for the provided with the detonator each cellular space for the detonator to be inserted with the carried shell with the capable of being covered by a rotary cover surrounding with the exploded not more than one cell with any type of capable with the rotation surface of the plate with all cells will be covered at the same time which was played with the provided with the lock with the covered and plate with the means shall be provided with the lock and place covered with the cell with the provided with the carrying detonator the requirement of not more than one cell with explode with at one time need not to provide with the detonators although the spaces of such caps over the detonators should be separate with a sufficient angular space for the shell provided with the inside of the cover of the detonators, and when cover is closed, there will be sufficient space to accommodate with the wires and customarily attached to the such cap if the materials of the nature of the requirement treatment to prevent absorption of the moisture. Such treatment shall be applied with such net surface in order to provide again for the penetration water determination suitable carrying handling such provide with the except for the can with no part of the container with the own part made project with the end of the external exterior of the body exhibited. Plates 1 and 2 of their lines drawn the container of the detonator with the percussion caps illustrated with the requirements set forth on the 178-318-2A with these plates did not be constructed as part of the specification. And then show the blasting cap container, and then the 178-318-3 marking. Each container must be marked with the prescribed 178-2B, 178-320 general requirements of the Apple with the all dot specification cargo tank motor vehicle with the definition for the purpose of the chapter potency mean with the attachment of the cargo tank with no landing retention with the containment function that provides no structural support with the cargo tank baffled mean with no liquid tight transportation partition device with the defect with the check with the regulates the fluid motion in the tank bulkhead means the liquid tight with the transportation closure of ends of the between the cargo tank means the bulk packaging with the tank is intended primarily for the cargo liquid gases solids or semi-solids including improvements to the reinforcement and fitting of the closure of the permanently attached to the form of the motor vehicle with the permanent intent to the motor vehicle with the reasons of the side of the construction attachment to the motor vehicle loaded with unloaded without the removal of the motor vehicle. If it's not fabricated with the specified with its own intermediate bulk and containers and the multiple unit tank car with the tow and tank portable tank with the tanker cargo tank motor vehicle meaning with the motor vehicle one more cargo tank permanently attached to and forming with the integral part of the vehicle. Cargo tank means for those of the part of the cargo tank make up of the primary landing and retention structure, including shovel the bulkhead. The fitting is the one clove with the yielded minimum volume completed cargo tank motor vehicle. Charging line means for the hub of the tube with a similar device used for the pressure tank and with the material leather and landing companion flange with means of the tube mating flange with the flange with in contact with the only the leaking seal with the gasket or and secure with one another by bolts or clamps. Connecting structure meaning with the structure that's joining the two cargo tank with the construction certified construction and certified according to the ASME code meaning with the cargo tank constructed with the same thing according to the section A of the ASME code and inspected with the certified with the authorized inspector. Constructing in accordance with the ASME code meaning with the cargo tank with the constructed in accordance with the section 8 of the ASME code with the authorized with the exemption and inspector with the certified with the registered inspector. Design type meaning with the one or more cargo tank that are made with the tank to the same specification to the same by the same manufacturer. Same engineer drawing with the calculation ship of the minor variation pipe that do not affect the landing of the retention capable with the cargo tank over the same of the two of the construction for the same cross-sectional dimension with the length of the varying about no more than 5% of the value of the varying no more than 5% due to the chain of the length but only for the purposes of 178-338 only with the same installation system external self-closing tapping me with the self-closing stopping design so self-storage injury source located with the outer of the cargo tank with the welded flange external dynamic loading with the maximum loading with the cargo tank motor of the vehicle to experiment during the expected life of the expanding accident loading with the resulting accident such as the overturned collision Flange meaning the structural ring over the guiding with attachment of the pipe fitting with another flame with the companion flange with the pipe fitting with the other attachment. Inspection pressure meaning with the pressure for the UV determining leak tightness of the cargo tank when everything pneumatic pressure installation. Internal self-closing tableting valve with the mean with the self-closing tableting design with the self-storage energy source located with the inside of the cargo tank. The cargo tank serum, while the welded flange of the valve sheet was located within the cargo tank within 1 inch of the external force face of the welded flange. Some of the cargo tank loading mean with the hazard material containing the cargo tank. Loading and unloading with the connection mean with the fitting with the loading and unload parts of the loading and unloading outlet with the loading and unload hose pipe of the device is attached. Loading and unloading means with the cargo tank outlet with the normal loading and unloading operation. Loading and unloading stop valve means with the stop valve farthest from the cargo to the tank with the unloading outlet, the landing and the unloading connection is attached. Manufacturer means any perfectly engaged with the manufacturer for the data specification cargo tank, motor vehicle, cargo tank, equipment form for the cargo tank of the well. While the terms include the attachment of the cargo tank, motor vehicle, the motor vehicle and suspension component involved with the welding of the cargo tank of the manufacturer must register with the department in accordance with the subpart F of the part 107, subpart A of the chapter maximum allowable working pressure, or MAWP, meaning the maximum allowable at the top of the tank with a normal operating position. The maximum allowable working pressure may be calculated prescribed in section A of the SME code. The maximum allowable working pressure may be greater than or equal to the maximum landing pressure conditions prescribed in 173.33 subchapter of each of the materials transported. Maximum landing pressure C173.33C. The minimum thickness of the minimum required shell of the head of the baffle, the bulkhead of the tank for reinforcement thickness needs to meet specification. Minimum thickness is greater than found with values 1 from the MC 330, 331, and 338 cargo tank specified minimum thickness found in appreciable specifications. 406, 407, and 412, the cargo tank specified minimum thickness of the tables 1 and 2 with the applicable specification for MC 301, 301, 300, 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, 306, 307, 310, 311, 312 cargo tanks in their service minimum thickness of the prescribed tables 1 and 2 with the 180, 407, and 15 subshaft of the minimum thickness specify the table of 1 and 2 of the applicable specifications. The thickness of the necessary to meet the structural integrity of the accident or the damage requirements of the applicable specification. The thickness of the computer per ASME code requirements of the F applicable multiple specification cargo tank motor vehicle with the cargo tank motor vehicle equipped with 2 or more cargo tank with a fabricated more than 1 cargo tank with a specification normal operating and landing means for the landing of the cargo tank motor vehicle to be expected experience for the route routinely in operation. Now it's all mean for the assembled assembly consistently applied with the tubular section with them without welding forged fillet on one end. Alright, the outlet, the opening of the shovel on the head cargo tank of the tube of the mean with attaching clove for the shovel the are not outlet for the thread opening the securely code for the transportation with a threaded plug threaded cap flange opening securely code during the transportation bolts of the welded blank with the flange manhole with the gauge device thermo weld with the pressure relief device of the outlet stop with the valve means the top level of the cargo tank loading and unloading outlet pipe coupling fitting with the internal thread for the bolt flange rear bump with the mean with the stroke for the design to prevent the vehicle with the eject with the unriding with the rear with the another vehicle with the 1C and 393 86 of the title, rear end tank protection device for the structure design with the product for the cargo tank with any landing of the retention of the device in case of the rear end collection, self-closing, stopping valve with the knees that stop the valve with the closing position, meaning the self-stored entry opens one with the on by application for the external force of the clove with the external force is removed, shell with the with the circumferential port of the position of the cargo tank defined with the basic design radius, the radii, excluding the bulkhead stop valve with the mean with the valve with the top of the flowing with the landing shelf, the sump with the mean with the protrusion from the bottom of the cargo tank shelf design. Facilitate complete landing and unloading landing. Tank movement of the container consisting of shell heads with the form of the pressure type vessel having an opening for the design with except for the pressure for the type fittings. Closure of the scoop of the appearance of the reinforcement fitting of the closure test pressure. Means the pressure with it for the tank and subject with the determined structural integrity, toughness of the material, the mean of the capacity of the material to absorb the energy represented of the area for the strain stress curve with the including the energy absorbed the per unit volume of the material with the point of the rupture vacuum cargo tank with the cargo tank with its low with the reducing pressure for the cargo tank below the atmospheric pressure variable specification cargo tank with the cargo tank construction in accordance with one specification the meaning with the alter meaning for the another specification for the change of the relief of the device of the closure of the leg and discharge of the device for the other landing and retention of the device void means of the space between the tank of the bulkhead with the connection of the structure welded flange. Meaning for the flange at for the tank of the welded joint of the tank should be tank shell with the cylindrical outer face of the flange of the weld joint the tank shell with the flange of the shape of the fit with the shell contour. Design certification each cargo tank of the tank or cargo tank motor vehicle with the design with the include the required with the accident damage device that must be certified to conform to specification requirements design certification engineer registered in accordance with the subpart F part 107 of the title of the accident with the damage protection device the rear end protection overturn protection piping protection device design certification engineering furniture of the manufacturer certificate including the compliant with the specification requirement certificate including the sketches drawing calculations used within certification each certification includes sketches and drawing calculation be signed with a design certificate. Certifying engineer manufacturer shall retain the design certification principal plate of the business and long manufactured dot specification cargo tanks, except in the ASME code unless otherwise specified. The exemption provided with the subpart with the compliance with the certain paragraph of the ASME code compliant with the paragraphs is not prohibited. 178 337 specification MC 331 cargo tank motor vehicle primarily transportation. Compressed gas of the defined subpart G with the part 173 of the subchapter. 178 337 1 with the general requirements ASME code. Construction tank must be seamless well with the construction combination of both design construction certified same with the complete section A of the ASME code. Made of steel and aluminum, however the aluminum is the cargo tank must be insulated with a hazardous material to be transported but must be capable of the aluminum and table of the 178 337 and 2A1 subchapter covered in steel jacket if the cargo tank is insulated with the transportation flammable gas C 173 315A note to the table to note to the subchapter design pressure with the design pressure for the cargo tank authorized specification shall not be left with the vapor pressure of the combined with the containment of 115 degrees Fahrenheit with the prescribed with the particular combined with the 173 315A subchapter except with the note case shall be designed with the trim pressure for the aim of the cargo tank not less than 100 psi gauge with a 500 psi gauge. Openings except for the pressure relief valve should be located with the top of the cargo tank and the head of the chlorine cargo tank shall have the only one opening. Opening shall be in the top of the cargo tank and shall be vivid nozzle made for the following once on the cargo tank manufactured before December 31st, 1974. The nozzle protected with the dome, the cover that conform to either the standard with the chlorine inside the drawing 103 with the date of January 23rd, 1958. The standard specified with the paragraph C2 with the specification cargo tank manufactured after January 1st, 1975, but the nozzle shall be detected the main way, coupled to conform with the standard with the chlorine institute with the drawing 1034 with the September 1st, 1971. Reflective design, every uninsulated cargo tank permanently attached with the cargo tank motor vehicle and left with the deck with the made of aluminum, stainless steel, the other bright non-tarnishing metal with the plane with white aluminum, some of the reflecting cover the upper two-thirds each of the cargo tank insulation. Each of the cargo tank required by the insulated must conform with the performance requirements required containing the 173 13A 178, 337, and A3, and E2 of the subchapter. Each of the cargo tank with intended with the chlorine carbon dioxide with the refrigerated liquefied nitro oxide with the refrigerated liquid with a suitable insulation with the size for the thickness over thermal conductivity not more than 800 of the BTU per square foot with the degree Fahrenheit. The differential per hour with the conductivity determined at 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Insulating material of the cargo tank of nitrous oxide refrigerated liquid must be non-combustible. Insulating material using cargo tanks chlorine must be cork-cored polyurethane foam with a minimum thickness of 4 inches with 2 inches minimum thickness of the ceramic fiber and fiberglass for the 4 pound with foot minimum density covered in 2 inches minimum thickness of the fiberwood. Posted well heat treatment heat treatment must be prescribed by the ASME code except that each of the cargo tank should conform with the part UH with the section A but the ASME code must be posted well with the treatment of each with the chlorine cargo tank fully radiographic walls well with the heater in accordance with provision section A of the ASME code that with the control of the post well the heat treatment of the cargo tank must be treated in unit of the completion all of the well with the inner or shell of the head of the method that you described in the section A of the ASME code well the attachment paths made after the post well the heat treatment of the cargo tank with the anhydrous ammonia must be well the post well the heated treatment with the post well the heat treatment must be prescribed in section A of the ASME code but no inflammable less than 1050 degrees Fahrenheit cargo tanking melting tank melting temperature metal temperature definition. The following definition apply with 178 337 through 337 18 the energy discharge control meaning the ability to stop the cargo tank with unloading operation of the event of the potential relief of the event emergency discharge of the control of the utilize the fast for the alpha the remote control remote meaning for the stop of the unloading operation the passive meaning of the emergency discharge of the control automatically show the flow of the product without the need of the human intervention within 20 seconds with the essential relief of the cover of the completion separation liquid delivery hose off of the truck with the remote beams. The emergency discharge control from the qualified permanent person tank with the unloading operation close with the cargo tank and the internal stop and closing stop valve of the shelf of all the motive auxiliary power equivalent of the distance for the cargo tank motor vehicle. Excessive flow valve with the integral excessive flow valve with excessive flow feature for the mean of the component will cover the automatically flow rate with the gas liquid through the component reach of the extent of the rated flow of the gas liquid specified by the original valve with the manufacturer piping the valve with it directly on the valve is paired off before first valve and the pumping fitting downward from this valve with the internal self-closing stop valve the the primary shower valve installed with the product discharge outlet of the cargo tank of the design with the captain code with the self-storage energy. The primary discharge control system either the primary shuttle installed with the product discharge outlet of the cargo tank that consists of the internal self-closing stop valve may include with the integral excess flow valve with an acceptable feature flow feature with the together the linkage of the must be installed between the valve of the remotely actuated provided with the manual thermal on torque remote means of closure. 178, 337, and 2 with material. All materials you with the construction of the cargo tank with the root and tube that must be suitable for you with the combined with the transport therein must conform with the quantities of Section 2 of the ASME code and or requirements of the American Society testing material in all respects impact testing required by the CO of the fabrication of the cargo tank of the construction of the corn for the UHG, the Section 8 of the ASME code, but the tents must be made at allowed with the base of the lot defined 1,000 ton with the 100 tons over the heat treatment process with the thickness variation greater than plus or minus 25% of the plus impact required with the full specimen must be 285 pounds in longitudinal direction, negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit, sharpening down within 15 pounds with the transverse direction, negative 3 degrees Fahrenheit, sharpening down. Required value side of the specimen must be required with the direct portion of the cross-sectional area. The specimen's beneath the next lot does not meet the requirements of the individual plate, but may be except for the individual meet the requirements of the applicator shall record the heat and slab number of the certified value of the sharp of the impact valve of the required of each of the plate with each for the cargo tank of the sketch flow showing the location of each of the plate shell heads of the cargo tank copies of each of the sketch shall provide with the owner retain at least 5 years for the fabricator made available to do duly. Identified a representative of the Department of Transportation direction final rule of the shelling material of the shell of the conventional orientation cargo tank for the chlorine cargo tank with the plate with the manual main wave that nozzle for the anchorage of the made with the carbon seal with the meat with the following requirements of the cargo tank manufactured before on December 31st, 1974. Material should form with the ASME A300 seal plates of the pressure vessel for service below the temperature of the A material should with the Class 1 grade with the A flame with the firebox quality plate impact test specimen required with the underpack of the A of the section shall be carried up with the Sharpie keyhole notch type plate impact testing specimen. The impact of the requirements of the A of the section both longitudinal transversal direction rolling with a temperature of negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit with the cargo tank manufactured after July 1st. 1975, the material shall conform with the ASME A612 and grade 65 and 7. Either the material shall meet the Sharpie V notch for the requirements of the ASME 20-A20M and the plate impact testing specimen shall meet the test requirements paragraph A of the section by the longitudinal transversal direction rolling temperature minus 40 degrees Celsius. Cargo tank and anhydrous ammonia surface of the construction the use of copper, silver, and zinc and their alloys are prohibited. Baffles made with aluminum alloy may be used only with joining the cargo tank in the process of the time requiring post-welded heat treatment with the cargo tank. And then it goes on to section 178, 337, 3. Structural integrity. General requirements of the criteria shall provide paragraph D with the check for the maximum calculated design stress over the point of the cargo tank may exceed the maximum level of stress with the prescribed in section 8 with the ASME code or 25 to of the tensile strength of the material U with the relevant physical property of the material U with the E for the cargo tank of the with the certified test report with the material with the manufacturer testing conforming requires national standard. In any other case, ultimate tensile strength with the material U with the design not exceeding 120% of the ultimate tensile strength with the specified ASME code for the ASTM standard with the material with the manufacturer maximum design strength made with the portion of the point of the cargo tank made with the calculated separately with the loading condition described in paragraph B and C and D of the section alternate testing and alternate analytical method of combination thereby you within space with the prescribed with the described in paragraph B, C and with this section of the method of accurate and verifiable. Corrosion allowed with the material may not include this as data with any design calculation requirement with the section static design construction with static design construction with the cargo tank must be incorporated with the section A of the ASME cargo tank must include the calculation of the dress generated with the design pressure of the weight the weight of the structure support with the cargo tank as well. Effect with the temperature gradients resolve with the landing and the evening temperature extreme. It is a similar material that U with the thermal coefficients must be the calculation of the thermal strength, the score and concentration, tension banding torsion with the curve of the bottle paddles and cradle with the other support with the be considered in accordance with the appendix G, the section A of the ASME code. Shell design of the shell stress and the result of the static dynamic load with the combination there over the uniform over the throughout the cargo tank motor vehicle, the vertical, longitudinal, and lateral normal operation loading with the curve of the simultaneously enough to combine vertical, longitudinal, lateral dynamic loading or occurs separately with the need not to be combined with the natural operating landing of the following of the procedure. Drift the strength of the tank shell the result of the normal operating landing loadings. The effective strength of the maximum principal strength of the poem may be determined in the following formula. The S is effective when given with the point with the combination of the static normal operating loadings that occur at the same time as Y if the and circumferential stress for the generated with the maximum level person external pressure when applicable plus static head and PSI. SX the following national longitudinal stress integrate and generate with the following with static normal operating loading condition and PSI. Longitudinal stress result with the maximum level pressure with the external pressure with the applicable plus static head with the combination bending strength of the generator with the attack wave with the fully loaded cargo tank and motor vehicle with the all structural elements, equipment prudency support with the cargo tank well tensile with the compressive strength with the resulting normal operating longitudinal acceleration, deceleration, each of the case of the forces applied with the 0.35 time with the vertical reaction with the suspension assembly applied with the road surface of the transmitted with the cargo tank wall through the suspension assembly trailer with a deceleration horizontal pivot with the truck tractor with the converting dolly fit for the wheel with the bar hinge on the fixed dolly during acceleration and anchoring support with the member of the tank truck during acceleration, deceleration, applicable variable reaction must be calculated based on the static weight of the fully loaded cargo with the tank of the motor vehicle with all structural elements of the equipment and improvements of the support with the cargo tank of all the following loadings must be included the axle loaded, generated, and decelerated force for the bending movement of the generator with the decelerated force for the bending movement of the generator with the accelerated force for the tens compressed for the generator with the bending movement of the result of the non-operative vertical accelerated equal to 0.35 times the vertical reaction from the suspension assembly of the trailer horizontal pivot of the upper coupler fit to be able to returnable time. Turntable anchor with the support of the member of the truck with the ends up with the variable reaction must be calculated based on the stack wave of the fully loaded cargo tank of the motor vehicle, all the structural elements, equipment, with the support with the cargo tank wall with the S as of the following shear strap with the generator with the following staff with the normal operating loading condition and the PSI. The static shear with the dressing result of the vertical reaction of the suspension and assembly of the with the horizontal pivot, the upper coupler with the fifth wheel of the turntable anchoring the support members of the truck with the applicable the vertical reaction must be calculated based on the static wave of the fully loaded cargo tank motor vehicle, all structural elements of the equipment with the emergency support of the cargo tank, while the vertical shear with the shaft of the generator with the normal operation and the accelerated force with the equal to 0.35 times the vertical reaction suspension with the assembly with the trail of the horizontal pivot of the upper coupler with the fifth wheel with the turntable anchor support with the member of the truck and assembly with the vertical reaction must be calculated with the head of the tag with the fully loaded cargo tank motor vehicle with the all structural elements of the equipment with the emergency support by the cargo tank wall. The lateral shear with the shaft of the generator with the normal operating and lateral accelerated force equal to 2 times of the time of the vertical reaction suspension with the assembly of the trailer with the apply with the road surface of the transmission with the car tank of the well over the suspension assembly of the train trailer with the horizontal pivot the upper the coupler with the turntable the anchoring with the support member of the truck of the applicable the vertical reaction calculated based on the static wave the fully load the cargo tank motor vehicle with all structural elements equipment the emergency support with the cargo tank wall the torsional shield strap of the generator with the same lateral forces of the described in paragraph C1 power C of this section. Extreme dynamic loading of the following pressure features address strength and tank shell. The result of extreme dynamic loading effective stress, the maximal principal stress at and point must be determined as the following formula. The S is equal to the effective stress given at the end of the combination static extreme dynamic loading so they can occur with the same time. S wide central stress generated with the maximal output for excess of external pressure applicable to the static head within PSI. As X the following line, in that longitudinal stress generated with the following static external dynamic loading condition in PSI. Longitudinal stress the result of maximal output working pressure, external pressure will allow the plus the stack head with the combination bending strip that generated the stack wave with the fully load with the cargo tank motor vehicle with all structural elements equipment. The frequency support with the tank wall, tensile compressor strap with the result of the extreme longitudinal acceleration, deceleration came to apply with the 7/10 time the vertical reaction of the suspension assembly applied with the road surface of the transmit to the cargo tank well through the suspension assembly of the trailer during the deceleration horizontal pivot with the truck trailer with the converter with the dolly with the wheel with the draw bar hinge with the fixability during the acceleration of the anchoring support members track during the acceleration deceleration with the vertical reaction must be calculated based on the static wave of the fully loaded with the cargo tank of the motor vehicle with all structural elements of the equipment and emergency support with the cargo tank wall with the fully loaded must be included the axle load generated with the decelerated force the bending moment generated decelerated force the axle load generated with the accelerated force of the bending moment generated with the accelerated force the tensile with the compressive strength with the bending moment with the result of the external vertical accelerated force equal to 7/10 times the vertical reaction suspension assembly of the trailer with the horizontal point by the upper coupler 5 times the turntable the anchor to support with the member of the truck of the apple with the vertical reaction must be calculated based on the stack wave of the fully loaded with the cargo tank motor vehicle all structural elements equipment the emergency supported in the cargo tank SS is the following shear strap of the generator with static extreme dynamic loading conditions in PSI. Static shear strap the result of the vertical reaction of the suspension assembly with the trailer with the horizontal pin of the upper coupler with the turntable the anchor from the support members of the truck with the applicable with the vertical reaction must be calculated based on the stack wave of the fully loaded with the cargo tank motor vehicle all structural elements equipment and emergency support with the cargo tank wall. Vertical shear strap of the generator with extreme vertical acceleration force equal to 0.7 times of the vertical reaction suspension with the assembly with the trailer horizontal pivot the upper coupler with the fifth wheel turntable the anchor support with the members of the truck with the applicable with the vertical reaction must be calculated based on the stack wave of the fully loaded cargo tank motor vehicle with the structural element equipment with the emergency support with the cargo tank wall. The lateral shield strap of the generator with extreme lateral accelerated force of the 4 times over the time of the vertical reaction suspension assembly with the trailer applied with the road surface of the transmitted cargo tank of the wall through the suspension assembly with the trailer with the horizontal with the upper coupler of the field the turn and table with the anchoring support of the member of the truck of the applicable with the vertical reaction must be calculated based on the stack wave of the fully loaded cargo tank motor vehicle all of the structural elements equipped with the emergency support with the cargo tank wall the location torsional strap of the generator with the same lateral described in paragraph C2 of the 4th C of the section. In order to account for the strength of the impact of the accident of the design calculation, cargo tank shovel the head of the must include the load of the result of the design pressure combination dynamic pressure resulting in longitudinal acceleration 2G for the loading condition of the exhaust valve with the U of the next U with lesser yield of the strength of the 70 or 75% of the ultimate tensile strength material of the construction of the car tank strength of the strain of the steel of the maximum design strength of the magnetic seat 75% also tensile strength of the type of the steel of the minimum metal thickness of the shell of the head of tank with the design pressure with a 100 psi gauge more than 187 thousandths of an inch steel, the center 270 thousandths of an inch for the aluminum, except for the chlorine with the sulfur dioxide tanks. In all cases, minimum thickness of the tank shell head shall be determined using the structural design requirements of Section A SME code 25% of the tensile strength of the material using the cargo tank. Using chlorine sulfur dioxide, but the cargo tank must be made of the steel of the corrosion allowing with the 20% of the tenths of an inch. 1/10 of an inch, which are made of the thickness of the sulfur dioxide chlorine tank material for the chlorine cargo tanks with the wall thickness of 625 thousandths of an inch, including corrosion allowance. So when the cargo tank is for the attack for the any part of the cargo tank with the shaft and of the cargo tank with the wall must meet the requirements of paragraph A of the section. Design, construction, installation, attachment, improvements to the cargo tank structural member between the cargo tank of the vehicle, the suspension component of the external projection must conform with the following requirements. Structural member of the suspension subframe of the axle of the substructure of the external circumference and reinforcement must be the type of the attachment and prudence of the other accessories of the cargo tank when practical, like attachment of the two visors of the cargo tank with the officer for the conductor clip of the brake line with clip of the stretching of the structure of the lamp mounting bracket of the placard holder other than construction having less strength of the cargo tank of the wind of the material may not more than 72% of the thickness material which is attached with the lightweight attachment may be securely directly attached with the cargo tank while the device is designed and solved in such a manner as damage that will not affect with the landing of the retaining integrity of the tank of the lightweight attachment must be secured with the cargo tank shell with the head with a continuous level in such a manner that the precluded formation of the package must be uncommon over the attachment of the meeting with the requirements over the paragraph of the authorized cargo tank of the construction under part UTH over the section A of the ASME code. Except for the paragraph G1 and G2 of the section welding improvements of the cargo tank well must be an attachment of the mounting pad so that there will be no adverse effect of the landing retention integrity of the cargo tank with the fourth left and then the prescribed paragraph B1 of the section applied with the aim with the direction thickness of the mounting pad may not be more left than the shell wall of the head wall with the attachment no more than 1.5 times of the head thickness of the head with the minimum thickness of the 25 hundredths over the inch well the shell of the head thickness of the over 25 hundredths of the well inch of the well weep holes well tall tail with the hole of the U as must be drilled and punched in the lowest point of the head mountain before welded to the tank each of the must be before fabricated material determine the suitable welding of both of the cargo tank and the material the approved of the structure the support member the design certifying engineer must make with the determination considering with the chemical the physical property the material with the almost survive film material conforming the requirements of section A of the SME code to be performed the inside of the radius no greater than the outside radius with the cargo tank and attachment location. Extend with at least 2 inches of the direction at any point of the attachment improves the structural support with the dimension may be measured for the center of the attached structural member that may have the round corner to the otherwise shape of the man with the minimum concentration on the shell or head. By attaching continuous fillet weld, any fillet discontinuity may not be the purpose of the preventing intersection between the fillet weld and tank of the jacket seam weld. Alright, 178, 337, and 4 joints.